I had no idea the British press was so bigoted.
This one's wife. Warning. This may make you vomit. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Get your chuck bucket at the ready. You may need to bath. You may need to hurl. You may need to do a technicoloured yawn, as what you're about to listen to may induce sensations of nausea, resulting in you needing to vomit. Thus, duly warned and preparations made. As you are aware, just recently, this one's wife and Harry arsed around in Colombia for 4 days. It was a faux royal tour, and with everything that this one's wife does when it comes to interactions with other human beings, it was driven by her narcissism, i.e., the pursuit of control, fuel, character traits, and residual benefits. But as you know, with this one's wife, it doesn't just end there. She needs to keep telling you what a wonderful human being she is, what a difference she's making to the planet. Such is the size of her ego, such is the unfettered grandiosity by which she operates, such is the deluded mind that causes her to believe that she is this peacemaking, harmony-bringing, empathic distributing woman that seeks to aid those who she touches wherever she goes. She needs to ensure that the PR puff pieces continue to be pumped out to remind you of just how brilliantly that tour went. You are perfectly capable of analysing the evidence yourself. Certain things might be pointed out to you that you might not have thought of. Certain perspectives might be offered to you, for instance, my explanations about why she does as she does vis-à-vis her narcissism. But you can look at what happened. You can watch the footage, read the reportage, and make your own mind up as to about what you believe was going on. But that's not good enough for this one's wife. She wants to pin you down. She wants to get you on the floor, hold your mouth open, and pour into it her narrative, forcing you to swallow it no matter how unpalatable it tastes. And here is a classic example of this type of narcissist, mid-range narcissist's need not only to weave that facade, but also to ensure that you are kept on being told just what an amazing human being she is. Unsurprisingly, it comes courtesy one of the supine publications, this time Harper's Bazaar, and someone called Bianca Betancourt, who ought to really hang her head in shame, writes, "What I learned travelling with Prince Harry and this one's wife." Oh, she calls her Duchess this one's wife. She writes, "There isn't really any way to properly prepare, or to prepare properly, split infinitive, for a trip with the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Over the last 10 years of my career, particularly the last 5 at Harper's Bazaar, I found myself in all sorts of high-pressure celebrity scenarios. Profiling Bad Bunny, yep. Covering Beyoncé's top-secret concert in Dubai, ooh, wow, high pressure, huh? You got it. Interviewing Oscar winners like Penelope Cruz, check. Something I often tell myself once drafts are filed and stories go live is, well, it can't get much bigger than that. But somehow it still always does. Well, I think that gives us pretty much an insight into this journalist mindset. Being on the ground with Prince Harry and Duchess this one's wife in Colombia for their tour with the Archwell Foundation, however, was easily one of the most eye-opening moments of my career. The trip felt especially kismet to me because my earliest introduction to Harper's Bazaar was my mother's cherished Princess Diana, Princess of Wales, commemorative issue, which she kept displayed in our home. Now, decades later, I found myself charting through Colombia with Diana's son and his wife. Watching the warmth and compassion with which they approach meeting hundreds of strangers, well, it might only be one of them that's showing genuine warmth and compassion, and then witnessing the way these in-real-life events were discussed online, made me understand the vertigo that comes with simply existing at Harry and this one's wife's level of fame. Those 4 days in Colombia weren't about the pomp and circumstance of celebrity. Yes, they were. However, for the Sussexes, everything they do and everywhere they go always circles back to their mission of showing up and doing good. What a propaganda piece this is turning out to be already. Everything about what the Sussexes do in relation to this one's wife is about the prime aims. That ought to be her motto, like any other narcissist. The Sussexes' visit came courtesy of an official invitation from Vice President Frantia Elena Marquez of Colombia, and followed 2 other trips they made this year to Nigeria and Canada. Since Harry and this one's wife stepped back from being senior working members of the British Royal Family in 2020 and launched the Archwell Foundation in 2021, they've been able to focus on the issues most important to them. Money, oh no. From speaking out about mental health to helping orchestrate crucial funding toward COVID-19 vaccine research. Where did that all get to then? At the height of the pandemic. But at the crux of their advocacy work is the goal of building a better, safer digital world for generations to come, i.e. facade management and the assertion of control by telling people what they're allowed to say online. But of course, this author doesn't get it. There's no doubt that challenging the dehumanising effect of the internet is a lofty goal, especially when the youngest generation is a group that was essentially born with the digital space at their fingertips. But if witnessing the Duke and Duchess meeting with students, teachers and parents and community leaders on the ground in Colombia showed me anything, it's that a healthier future for our children. One, with less bullying, well, that's rich coming from a bully, less toxicity, that's rich coming from someone who creates a toxic environment wherever she goes, and less encouragement to troll and react is possible, simply because it's what today's children ultimately want for themselves. In classrooms across Colombia, Prince Harry and Duchess this one's wife sat down and listened, and I mean really listened. How do you know? How do you know they really listened? This one's wife can effect that she's listening, but all she's doing is drinking in the fuel. Listen to what Colombian youth had to say about their evolving relationship with social media and how it affects their daily lives. To me, the Sussexes saw when working with today's youth. It's an interaction that once again brings the late Princess Diana, Diana Princess of Wales, front of mind when looking back at her public interactions with youth and AIDS patients decades ago. Pausing there, yet again this one's wife needs to ram down your throat a side order of, I am Diana Princess of Wales. Maybe becoming parents themselves has helped Harry and this one's wife form a more organic connection with children and teens. Pausing there, there is no organic connection between this one's wife and children and teens. She simply bolts them on and utilises them as the appliances that they are. She's incapable of forming any form of genuine or organic connection. Whatever it is, their ability to get young people to open up about their lives and goals is undeniable. Children were ecstatic, really, not how I saw it, much side-eyeing going on, to see the couple walking the hallways of their schools, and the Sussexes were quick to pause for each and every hug, handhold or selfie request. Naturally, this one's wife does that, the usual touching Duchess, whereby she asserts control physically and draws in the fuel by way of their responses. The Sussexes' tour of Colombia was also about shining a light on some of Latin America's most overlooked communities. As someone who has covered the intersection of Afro-Latinidad and culture since the very beginning of my career, at times it was overwhelming to witness the joy that radiated from local children and elders alike at being chosen to share a piece of their world with the Duke and Duchess. For fuck's sake. I mean, seriously, it's like the second coming of Christ, isn't it? The Messiah is amongst us. Oh, deep joy, such ecstasy. Let us throng the streets. Let us dance like we did when Nelson Mandela was freed. Even in 2024, the mainstream media's portrayal of Colombia is inherently white. Just look at the country's biggest entertainment exports. But the country's African and indigenous traditions are rooted in every aspect of its art, music and literature. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't moved by witnessing communities come together to showcase a traditional drum circle, or by chatting with young local dancers in Cali ahead of their performance. Colombians, like so many Latin Americans, manage to find resilience by maintaining their joy, and it's something we could all learn from. This one's wife even mentioned it herself during a panel conversation for the Afro-Descendant Women in Power Voices of Equity Summit, which celebrated Afro-Colombian women and leaders. Describing this era of her life as her chapter of joy, permission to barf granted, she said, the more you are able to look at your life and really truly recognise and be able to be grateful for your life, you have to be grateful for all aspects of it. My intentionality, what's wrong with my intention? My intentionality is to enjoy this chapter and be able to love through every piece of this as best we can. Word salad. I needed that positivity during my time covering the Sussexes, since any sort of association with a couple, even just being a pool reporter sharing basic details and facts about their day-to-day events, means opening yourself up to unwarranted critique from the world. Stop. Why is it unwarranted critique? What are you saying? People aren't allowed to critique what they have to say? That just again demonstrates the prejudicial and narrow mindset adopted here. Within hours of the announcement I would be accompanying them on tour, I was called a grifter, a mouthpiece and a calculated piece of their PR puzzle, among other things. And that was before I even sent out a single pool report. UK reporters specifically were baffled about my being there. I was described as having no news background. My entire career discredited because of what I can only assume is the fact that I'm not white and not British. Oh, for fuck's sake, shut up. Playing the race card. You are as bad as this one's wife. People are allowed to criticise you, and they can criticise you without it being racist. People are allowed to suggest that you perhaps don't have a news background. They are allowed to query why you're going, and you're just as bad as her. No wonder you were picked by her, because you have the same whinging mentality. There was no mention of my years-long dedication to uplifting Latino art and culture. Because the Colombian tour was planned to the minute with essentially zero drama for tabloids to pick up on and sensationalise, I was the next easiest target. All felt eerily familiar. Stop whining. You're a journalist. You're a writer. Grow a hide. Grow some thick skin. Get on with it. Good Lord. Let me be clear, though. I'm not trying to put forth a woe is me narrative. Yes, you are. Or garner sympathy. Yes, you are. This one's wife could be writing this, couldn't she? It's simply that the experience gave me a deeper appreciation for Archwell's core mission of building a more fair and equitable digital world, one where we don't thrive on punching someone's self-esteem to a pulp. I'm a 30-year-old woman who can recognise right from wrong, really, and know when to log off for the sake of my mental health. Our youth don't all necessarily carry that same strength. You don't appear to carry any strength whatsoever. You just whinge. It's up to us, adults, leaders, and yes, even the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, to do our part in minimising online hostility as much as we can. If anything, what struck me most as a witness to the Sussex's operation was the intentionality. Notice that you're mirroring this one's wife there. They bring to the way they use their platform. Regardless of public opinion, the Duke and Duchess are committed to continuing acts of service. Bullshit. It's not a requirement for them. After all, plenty of celebrities don't see service as part of their role. Instead, it's a calling. That acute attention to detail in the way they marshal their fame, the way they move around the world, and the way they choose whom to collaborate with is what will help them make the most impact in the future. So this is that PR puff piece, and that's what she apparently learned from travelling with them. So an opportunity to perhaps give us some actual insight into the way that the two of them behave over 4 days is completely lost, as it's part talking about myself, then talking about how I was picked on and that's not fair, and then basically strumming one off, talking about this one's wife and Harry. A missed opportunity, but of course the purpose of this was basically to cry about how unfair it is to them, how unfair it is to the journalist, and to make them look good. Well, I trust that you finished barfing after hearing that sickly sweet up the yitter piece. But it demonstrates once again the obsession that this one's wife has with playing the victim because of her narcissism and trying to convince you all that she is some kind of saintly figure. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.